In the lively city of Lagos, Nigeria, the University of Lagos was a melting pot of people from different worlds. It was here that Zara Adesola, the daughter of one of the Nigeria's wealthiest businessmen, crossed paths with Emeka Obasi, a scholarship student from a humble background. Zara was the type of girl everyone noticed. She was beautiful, with skin that glowed like caramel under the Nigerian sun, and her designer clothes hinted at her family's wealth. But behind her perfectly styled appearance, Zara often felt like something was missing. Born to privilege, she'd always lived under the shadow of her father's expectations, and her every move was carefully monitored to maintain the family's image. Then there was Emeka, a kind and hardworking young man with a quiet strength. He'd grown up in the peaceful streets of Enugu, where his mother, a retired teacher, raised him with love and values. Emeka's life was simple, yet he carried himself with dignity and purpose. To afford his education in Lagos, he worked multiple part-time jobs, balancing his studies with responsibilities back home. To him, the scholarship to study economics was more than an achievement. It was his chance to lift his family out of poverty. It was during a crowded lecture that fate brought them together. Zara, seated near the back, was struggling to understand a particularly tricky concept on microeconomic theories. Her frustration grew as the lecturer sped through the slides, and she could feel her pulse quicken. Just then, Emeka, seated next to her, noticed her frowning at the notes. "Excuse me, are you having trouble with this section?" he asked, his tone gentle. Zara looked up, slightly embarrassed. She didn't usually ask for help, especially not from strangers, but there was something about his calm demeanor that put her at ease. She nodded, hoping he wouldn't judge her. Without hesitation, Emeka leaned closer, explaining the concept in a simple, straightforward manner. His voice was patient, his explanation precise, and soon Zara understood what had baffled her moments ago. "Thank you," she said, smiling genuinely. "You're really good at this." Emeka smiled back, his eyes dark and warm. "Anytime. Economics is kind of my thing." From that day forward, Zara found herself looking out for him in class. Emeka, too, started lingering a bit longer after lectures, and their chance encounters turned into study sessions. They would sit together in campus, sharing ideas and notes, laughing at their professors' quirks, and getting to know each other. Zara discovered Emeka's love for reading and his dreams of building a life for his family. He, in turn, learned about the pressures she faced from her family and her yearning for freedom. They became close friends, bonding over late-night study sessions, Nigerian street food, and conversations that went deeper than Zara had ever experienced before. She was drawn to his kindness and authenticity, qualities so rare in her world. Emeka, on the other hand, admired Zara's intelligence and the softness she showed once her guard was down. She was not the spoiled rich girl he imagined. Beneath her polished exterior, she was someone who longed for a connection that was real. It didn't take long for friendship to turn into something deeper. Emeka's heart raced whenever she was near, and Zara felt the same. Yet, the unspoken reality hung between them. Zara's parents would never approve of their relationship, but for now, they tried to ignore it, letting themselves enjoy each moment, believing that love somehow would find a way. As their relationship grew, so did the whispers on campus. People began to notice the unlikely pair, and soon enough, word reached Zara's family. One evening, after a day spent with Emeka, Zara returned home only to be confronted by her mother, who had heard the rumors. Zara, her mother said, her voice cold and firm. What's this we are hearing about you and that boy? Zara's heart sank. She had known this moment would come, but she wasn't prepared for the disapproval in her mother's eyes. For the first time, she realized the depth of the challenge they were about to face. But Zara also knew one thing for certain: Emeka was worth it. And despite her family's reservations, she wasn't about to let go without a fight. As weeks passed by, Zara and Emeka's love only grew stronger. They spent more time together, escaping to quiet spots on campus where they could talk, laugh, and dream of a future free of the constraints of their worlds. Zara's friends often asked why she would be interested in someone like Emeka, but to her, he was more than just a poor boy. He was a man with a kind heart, wisdom beyond his years, and a soul that understood her like no one else had. But as much as Zara tried to keep her relationship private, the whispers eventually reached her father, Chief Adesola. One evening, she returned home to find her father waiting for her in his study, his expression as stern as she'd ever seen it. "Sit down, Zara," he commanded, his voice cold and unfamiliar. Nervous, Zara took a seat, knowing that whatever was coming would not be easy. "I hear you've been spending time with a boy," he began, his voice dripping with disdain. "A poor boy, one who has no business associating with our family. Do you have any idea what this is doing to our reputation?" Zara felt her heart pounding, but she lifted her chin defiantly. "His name is Emeka, Daddy, and he's not just some poor boy. He's smart, kind, and he respects me. He's more genuine than anyone I've met." Her father's face darkened. "Enough, Zara. I've worked too hard to give you a life of privilege, and I will not have you throwing it all away for some boy who can't even afford to support himself. This relationship ends now." "But Daddy," she protested, her voice cracking. "Why can't you just get to know him? He's so much more than his background." Chief Adesola's expression turned icy. "I've already spoken to several families about potential husbands for you. Wealth, power, connections. That is what matters, not this foolishness. If you continue with this, you'll lose everything, Zara. The inheritance, the support, the life you've always known." Her father's word hit her like a punch to the chest. She had always known her family was conservative, but she hadn't realized how far they would go to control her life. Later that night, she met Emeka under their favorite tree on campus. The moonlight cast a soft glow over his face, but his usual warm smile faded as he saw the pain in her eyes. "What happened?" he asked, taking her hands gently. "My father. He's threatened to cut me off if I don't end things with you," she whispered, tears welling up. "He doesn't understand. He thinks love is something you can measure in wealth or status." Emeka's face hardened with resolve. "Zara, I will never ask you to give up on your family or the life you have always known. I want you to be happy even if it means—" Zara shook her head, silencing him. "No, Emeka, I don't care about the money or the inheritance. I care about you. I'd rather be with someone who truly loves me than live in a golden cage." They stood in silence, her words hanging heavily in the night air. Zara was terrified, but her heart was resolute. She had finally found something real, and she wasn't about to let it go. The days that followed were filled with tension. Her parents grew more determined to break them apart, going as far as freezing her bank account to force her hand. But Zara adapted, learning to live without the luxuries she had once taken for granted. Emeka, true to his word, did everything he could to support her, taking on more shifts at his job to cover their expenses. Their life together wasn't easy. They faced tears and judgments from people who couldn't understand why someone like Zara would choose someone like Emeka. And with the financial pressures mounting, Zara found herself questioning if she had made the right choice. Yet every time she looked at Emeka, her doubts melted away. His quiet strength, his gentle encouragement, and his unwavering belief in their love gave her the courage to keep going. But the struggle took its toll. One night, as they sat together in his small apartment, Emeka looked at her with a mixture of love and sadness. Zara, he said softly, I don't want to see you suffer like this. You've given up so much already. Maybe, maybe you should go back. Your family could make your life so much easier. Zara's eyes filled with tears. Don't you understand, Emeka? I don't want the easy life. I want you. I want us. Emeka pulled her close, their fears momentarily silenced in each other's embrace. But deep down, both knew the path they had chosen was full of challenges, challenges that might yet break them if they weren't careful. As their life endured, the divide between Zara and her family grew deeper. Her father's anger turned to silence, and her mother's disappointment cut even deeper. It was a painful reminder that, in choosing Emeka, she had lost not only her privilege but also a part of her family. Still, Zara clung to the hope that one day they would understand. One day they would see that her happiness, not her wealth, was the greatest gift they could give her. For now, she and Emeka would continue to face the storm together, bound by a love that was stronger than any force trying to pull them apart. Months passed, and Zara and Emeka's love endured the tests that life and society threw at them. They had made a life together, simple but filled with warmth and understanding. While Zara struggled with the absence of her family, Emeka's love gave her strength. Still, she longed for acceptance, for a day when her family would see that her love for Emeka was genuine and pure. Then, one evening, as they were walking back from a late class, Zara received an unexpected call from her younger brother, Dayo. Zara, he said quietly, Dad's been asking about you. He doesn't say it, but I can tell he misses you. Zara's heart skipped a beat. It had been so long since she had heard anything positive from her family. Could this be the beginning of change? Tell him I am doing well, she replied softly, not daring to hope too much, and tell him if he is willing, I'd like to see him. Days went by with no word from her father. But then, on a quiet Saturday morning, Zara's mother called her unexpectedly. Zara, her mother's voice was hesitant, filled with a mixture of relief and sadness. We'd like you to come home. Your father, he's willing to talk. Zara felt a swell of emotion she hadn't expected. After so many months of silence, the chance to bridge the gap with her family felt both exciting and terrifying. Emeka, sensing her apprehension, took her hand. Whatever happens, I'll be here, he said, his voice steady. On the day of the meeting, Zara and Emeka traveled to her family's mansion, her father's home, which had once felt like a cage, now felt strange and unfamiliar. Emeka, standing beside her, held her hand tightly, his presence a calming anchor. When they entered the grand living room, Chief Adesola sat in his armchair, his face as stern as ever, though there was a hint of something softer in his eyes. Zara's mother sat beside him, watching them with a mix of anticipation and caution. Zara took a deep breath. Daddy, thank you for seeing us. Chief Adesola looked at his daughter, then at Emeka. For a moment, the tension in the room was palpable. But then, to Zara's surprise, her father spoke, his voice quieter than she had ever heard it. Zara, I can't pretend to understand your choices. I raised you with everything, every opportunity, every luxury to give you a life better than mine. And yet, you turned your back on it. Zara met his gaze, her voice steady. Daddy, you gave me everything I could ever ask for, and I'm grateful. But Emeka, he gave me something no one else did. He loves me for who I am, not for my family's name or wealth. He makes me happy. Chief Adesola looked at Emeka, his eyes sharp. And you, he said, his voice a bit firmer, do you understand what it means to be part of this family? Do you understand the pressure, the responsibility that comes with this name? Emeka nodded respectfully. Yes, sir. I may not come from wealth, but I do understand what it means to protect and provide for the people you love. I've worked hard to be where I am, and I will continue to work hard. I promise you, I will do everything in my power to make Zara happy. Chief Adesola studied him for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he sighed, a look of reluctant respect crossing his face. Zara, he said, his tone softer, if this young man means that much to you, then I will try to accept him. I can't say I fully understand, but if he's willing to honor our family and treat you with respect, then perhaps there's something to be learned here. Tears filled Zara's eyes. She had never imagined that her father would relent even a little. She reached over and hugged him tightly, whispering, Thank you, Daddy. Her father patted her back stiffly, but with an unmistakable fondness. You've always been stubborn, Zara, just like your mother, he said with a slight smile. Over the coming months, Zara's family slowly opened their hearts to Emeka. While Chief Adesola remained cautious, he couldn't deny that Emeka's hard work and dedication were admirable. Emeka continued to support himself and Zara, and he worked tirelessly to prove that love, integrity, and character were worth more than any inheritance. Eventually, Zara's parents saw that their daughter's happiness was real and that Emeka truly respected her and their family. It wasn't the life they had envisioned for her, but they realized it was a life built on love, respect, and strength. Years later, Zara and Emeka built a life together that bridged both of their worlds. Emeka's dreams of giving his mother a better life came true, and Zara's family came to embrace him, understanding that their daughter's happiness was the legacy they wanted to leave. In the end, Zara and Emeka love triumphed, showing that sometimes the strongest bonds are forged in the face of adversity. Against all odds, they had proven that true love could bridge any divide and overcome any obstacle, no matter how wide. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe for more.